Hopefully it works. Anyway, we'll wait and see. So, I had a bit of a read. Hey, it's all on exercise physiology, this assignment. No dramas. All we're going to do is just break it down here, question by question, actually work out what is the question asking. All right? Before we get through all that, let's go back up here and have a look at a few of these graphs. Hey, I've got heart rate data. Now, this graph, heart rate, go up a little because that's my screen line. Heart rate in red and speed in blue. Data from an under 18 national touch final. So I look at that graph and my heart rate's in red. What do you notice about the pattern of the heart rate? Up and down, up and down. In what sort of time periods? So I'm going up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Let's have a look. Now, when you're looking down the bottom at these times, think of it as the time of day. So in other words, 4:07, 4:11, 4:12, right? That's the easiest way to look at that. So what's each period of elevated heart rate roughly? Seconds. These are minutes. Said time of day, 4:08 to maybe 4:11. Roughly 3 minutes. Roughly 3 minutes. And what sort of heart rate is it? There's that nice straight line again, isn't it? What sort of heart rate is it? 190 beats per minute. Is that a lot or not? Depends on what? How old are they? We can assume, for the sake of this argument, that they would be at most 18. Because they're playing in an under 18 carnival. Right? So we can assume at most, we've got 220, take 18, 202 beats per minute. So if their heart rate is up around that 190 mark, what sort of intensity do you think it would be? High would be a fair statement. So we now, without even looking at a question, we're starting to think straight away. There's 3 minutes of high intensity effort. What sort of system do you think that would be? Lactic acid would be a very logical consequence. Right? Consequence isn't the right word, but selection. Right? 3 minutes, 190 beats per minute, 202 is their max. Chances are that's going to be a period of lactic acid. No worries. System. What's this little period of lower heart rate? What do you think that's going to be? Why do you say aerobic, Finn? Possibly. What else could they be doing? Resting. Let's put a correct terminology in to represent the game. No. Subbing. We don't say resting. They are subbing and recovering. How do we know that they are subbed and not on the wing, as Finn says? Okay, we can use other evidence. Blue being their speed. So suddenly I can look at that and their blue is coming down, right down. The other thing is, their heart rate's 110. What would you be doing for a heart rate of 110? Walking would be reasonable. So even out in the wing, there would still be periods of high intensity heart rate. And how long does it go for? Yeah, about 3 minutes. So it's safe to assume what this player is doing is what? Going on for 3 minutes, working really hard, coming off for 3 minutes. On for 3 minutes, off for 3 minutes. On for 3 minutes, off for 3 minutes. Because we've got the heart rate to support that, we've got the speed to support that. So I'm not even looking at the questions yet, I'm just looking at my graph to begin with. I then look at my next graph. And I go, okay, recreational under 18, how old's the athlete? 18, max heart rate? I'm going to say that same 202. Let's have a look at this heart rate instead. And what do you notice? Sorry?
It goes over 200.
Goes over 200. When? 1 point. For roughly how long? Not long. What do you think might be happening? Increasing intensity. So what might you be doing in the game of touch to have a one-off high-intensity effort like that? Yeah, you're through the gap. You attack the gap, you've got through, glory, hey, I got someone chasing after me, I've got to go hell for leather to get this score. No worries. Right. So it might just be a once off. Take that one out, and then what do we notice about the rest of the graph? Yep. Now chances are going down that low, what do you think that might be? Down to 0. I'd say connectivity issues with the heart rate monitor. Because chances are your heart rate's not going to get that low. Right. So I would ignore those and put them down as faulty heart rate monitors. And what have I got for the rest of the graph? Well, that's fairly consistent. At what heart rate? 140. What sort of intensity do you think that would be? What do you think 140 would be in terms of intensity? Why do you say that? Why do you say submax? Okay, now we've got evidence. Their max heart rate, they're 18 years old. Their max heart rate is 200. If they're at 140, hey, that's less than 3/4. They're down at 65, 70%. So what do you think they are doing and how long are they doing it for? 28 minutes. How do you think they are playing the game of touch? Yeah, slowly. They are staying on the whole time, maybe just the occasional sub where the heart rate monitor drops out. But basically they're staying on for extended periods of time. And if we stay on for an extended period of time, we probably can't use the lactic system. It's going to be more that aerobic. So straight away, just by looking at the graphs, we've already drawn some comparisons between them. What else have I got in here? I've got some information from a whole heap of games where it's got distance covered, average speed, top speed, first half in attack, first half in defence, second half in attack, second half in defence, all our games throughout. Lots of data there. Not going to go through it all. You can read it. I've also got some stats, some points about the game of touch. In a 40-minute game, players average up to 32 minutes of game time. There's lots of information. Won't go through that just yet. And then, hey, I actually get to my questions. So I've been through all that and haven't even looked at the question. So, first one. Using the heart rate data, what are you going to do? So straight away, I'm underlining, I'm highlighting that part. Using heart rate data. If you do not put numbers in, do not expect to get an A. You need to use heart rate data from figure 1 and figure 2. So, using heart rate data from figure 1 and figure 2, explain. What does explain mean? What does explain mean?
Give an explanation.
Okay, tell me about it. All right? If I say identify Finlay, there he is. If I say explain Finlay, all right, hasn't worked out what numbers are, 6'2", all right, can run all day. I was trying to be polite. All right? We'll put you on the Collingwood measure scale. Everyone's 6'6". All right? So explain the interplay of energy systems utilised by the body during various stages of the game of touch. Make comparisons between elite and novice. Make comparisons. So in other words, you need to compare the elite graph to the novice graph. And what in particular in those graphs are we comparing? Heart rate and? Read the question. So, energy systems. Comparing expert and novice. So, if I go back up, if I go back up. So what I'm doing here is with my expert, I'm trying to find an interplay. So where do they use the aerobic system? Give me a specific time reference where they use the aerobic system. Someone, anyone.
4 minutes and 5 seconds.
4:05? To what point?
To 4 minutes and 6.5.
4 to 6.5. Okay, does anyone want to agree or disagree? Aerobic? No, I'm not saying that's aerobic, no. Give me an aerobic time reference. Oh, Jamie, what's that amazing piece of technology you got there? A ruler. Ho ho.
Snazzy. That's a roll.
Someone, give me an aerobic.
422 to 429.
422. Oh, you're going easy. 429.
I don't know what I'm ready for.
422 to 429.
I agree.
Lachlan, why are you saying that is the aerobic system?
There's the heart rate. Roll around.
The heart rate is what?
Heart rate's about 120 beats per minute.
Yeah, why else?
And it's not clocking a speed very high.
Yeah, what's the speed?
About 3 kilometres per hour.
Right, what do you think they're doing during that period?
Half time.
Half time? Okay, walking around. So, what we've got is the first part of the interplay. You've identified the aerobic system. Go back to the question. What does it say? Using data from the graph. I've included a heart rate, 120 beats per minute is submax. How do I know it's submax? I can work that out as percentage of that. The fact that the speed is down to 3 kilometres per hour. And then what else do I need for interplay? I need an intensity. I need a duration, which I've got down here. I need a game example. More than likely, half time, sitting down, recovering. Aerobic would be dominant. So, whenever I do that interplay, I want intensity, I want duration, and I want game example. So, where's my ATP system in that graph? I want a specific time reference. ATP. Someone give me an ATP example from that graph.
First 10 seconds.
Someone give me a specific time reference from that graph.
401, 402.
401, 402. So Riley's saying that little bit in there. Why are you saying that? I want evidence. I'm going to ask. And what evidence can you use? Heart rate goes from what to what? What do you call resting? Numbers, Finlay. What's resting? Well, is that what the graph says? I'm looking at that, and 402, I've got heart rate there. Right? Coming across, it's about 80 beats per minute. Then at this point here, 404, the heart rate's up to 170 beats per minute. The speed also increases up to 17 kilometres per hour. So I've got a duration down the bottom here. All right, I'm going to that point. So I've got my duration, I've got my heart rate. What else do I need? I've got that, that's my heart rate. Got that, down the bottom. Game example. What am I likely to be doing during that point? Start of the game. And I'm either playing defence, where I'm rushing forward to make the touch, pushing back to get onside, or I'm playing offence, where I tap and run and I'm taking on the defence and performing multiple efforts. So straight away, I've got an ATP, I've got an aerobic. Have we already done a lactic example? Yeah, that was the first thing we spoke about with these peaks and troughs. So I've done half my question right there. So have I answered my question? Let's come back. Using heart rate data, have I done that? Okay, using heart rate data. Tick. In figure 1, did I do that? Have I done it in figure 2? No, not yet. Can you explain the interplay of energy systems? Did I do that for half of it? Yes? Utilised by the body during various stages of the game. That makes comparisons. Have I done that yet? No. So what do I need to do to finish this question? Go and do it for figure 2, where I'm going to look at that and go, where's an aerobic example? We already spoke about that. Where's an ATP example? We already spoke about that. And where's a lactic acid example? Repeat high intensity efforts. And I'm going to make a comparison. If you were going to make a comparison between these two graphs, what do you think would be the main comparison you would make? The intensity could be one. And which system would be dominant? What system is dominant up here? Lactic, high intensity repeated efforts. Whereas what system's down here? Aerobic, submax. I've made my comparisons. Right. Is that question broken down enough, you reckon? Got some clear direction in terms of where you can take it? Cool. Do you want me to keep going with the rest of it, or do you just want to start?
I did learn a bit more. Like we actually did it, and then,
Well, thankfully you've been doing it for the last 6 weeks.
yeah, but
It's almost as if I've done that in my planning thing, mate. Jeez, I'm good.
more.
Okay. Describe. Keyword, describe. Means what? Describe. Tell me about it. All right. Now, flip back to the front page of your assignment. That's good. Down the bottom. That's what you're being assessed on. All those wonderful little things that you don't know, you don't understand. KUs, CAEs. All right, you don't need to know and understand them. Basically, I know what they apply to in the SACE world. But look at the bottom one. What does it say? KAE4. Use of information with appropriate acknowledgement from multiple sources. Is it something like that? Was that word for word? Okay, close enough. No. So, what does that actually mean in simple terms? Reference. So, again, if you want to get an A and you hand up an assignment that doesn't have any referencing, you're not going to get an A. So when it says describe, what's something you could use? References. Now, me, I'm not a reference. My lecture notes are not a reference. But where do you think I get my lecture notes from? Or, if you want, go to the library and borrow Live It Up 2 or Live It Up 1, whichever one you need. All right, they are textbooks over in the library. Go and borrow them. Hey, Miss Rover, do you mind? Mr. Driver said something about you might have a Live It Up 1 or Live It Up 2 textbook. Sure, borrow that. Then all of a sudden you've got 1, 2, 3 different references. Multiple sources. Let's get back on this. Describe how acute. What's acute? Immediate, straight away, short term. So describe how acute body responses change throughout the game of submax and max efforts as seen by figure 1 and figure 2. Do I need to refer to figure 1 and figure 2? Read the question there. What does it actually say? Yeah, what was that whisper over there? Seen by. Does it say refer to? No. So at this point it's just saying as seen by. So in other words, by looking at them, I can see that. What I'm doing is highlight these changes with reference to 3 circulatory, 3 respiratory, and 3 muscular responses and explain why these changes. So, back up a little bit. What's it actually asking me to do? It's asking me to find 3 circulatory. What's circulatory all about? Okay. Circulatory. What's respiratory all about? Lungs, breathing. And muscular is all about? Yep, no trick question. Muscles. So, describe 3 acute circulatory changes. Describe 3 acute respiratory changes. Describe 3 acute muscular responses to exercise and explain why these changes happen. So for example, what's something that has to do with blood that it is an acute response to exercise? Heart rate, I'll allow you to have. What's the change though, Cooper? Okay. So it could be, one circulatory response could be an increase in heart rate. Now, what is heart rate? So that's a definition. What could we do with that definition? We could reference it because it says describe. So I could say, one circulatory response could be increased heart rate. Could be simple as that, the heading, increased heart rate. Definition, heart rate, number of beats per minute. There's a reference. Right? Why does it change? Why does my heart rate increase? Change of intensity, but what does my heart rate actually increase for? Okay, to get more oxygenated blood around the body. What's another circulatory response, acute circulatory response to exercise? In other words, something to do with blood. More blood pump. What do we call that? Stroke volume. Increase in stroke volume. So we could put increased stroke volume. We could put a definition and reference it. Why does our body have an increased stroke volume for exercise? Not more blood. Okay, we need more oxygen, and oxygen is carried. So what you're saying is the reason why for all of these is going to be the exact same. Because you need more oxygenated blood. So do you just write the same thing 3 times? No, you're going to be struggling for words as it is. Because you all struggle for words because you babble and don't get to the point. Right? So what I could actually do is put it in a table. You don't have to do this, but I'm just saying it could be circulatory. And I could put in there increased heart rate. I could put my definition. I could then have increased stroke volume. I could have my definition. And then what do I do at the bottom of that table? I'll explain why. Increased need for oxygenated blood. So now what I'm doing is only explaining it once and saving myself some words. So you could be a little bit smart about that. You're allowed to use tables, you're allowed to use dot points. Absolutely. It's not an English essay, it's a report. Okay? So have I answered that question now?
No.
What haven't I done? Okay, sure. Give me a respiratory example. What's an acute respiratory response to exercise? Heavy breathing. Let's put that in some more scientific terms. Oh, Jamie, there we are. Now we sound smart, as opposed to creepy. Okay. Increased ventilation. Again, we could put a definition for ventilation. Why is respiratory always going to increase? Because we need more oxygen. All right, what about a muscular response? What's an acute muscular response to exercise? There's one. Build up the lactic acid. So basically what I've just done there for you is I've given you one example in each category, two in the first one. So I've almost given you, if you like, 4 of your 9 answers. Yeah, thanks, Rob. Yeah, you still got it right. So, have I now done it? Have I described these acute responses? Because I've got a definition. All right. Have I done 3 circulatory? Well, I'm working on it. 3 respiratory, working on it. 3 muscles, working on it. Have I explained why they occur? Yes. So now I've done that question. Right, as I said, good opportunity for you to use some references. So, question 3.
Demonstrate this out on the
You can go out there if you'd like, Finn. If you've had enough of this, by all means, go out, grab a basketball, go shoot some hoops. I'll just continue to help those that do actually want it. I'm pretty sure if I rang, well, I wouldn't even go to your father, I'd ring your mother and said, Finlay's made the choice of shooting hoops rather than listening to me explain how an assignment should be done. I reckon they'd go down well, don't you?
Yeah, I might just get practicing.
So, refer to figure 1. Refer to figure 1 means what? Refer to it. Let's get some numbers off it. 421 to 430 mark, as indicated via black lines. Use it to explain why heart rate takes some time to reach lower resting levels. Emphasise the key processes involved in this transition and explain that are important to performance in the second half. So, I'm going to go back up. I'll come back down in a minute. It's referring to that point, 421 to 430. What did we identify earlier that point was? Half time. Now, first part of the question is saying, why does it take a while, get rid of all these little lines, why does it take a while for a heart rate to get from 180 down to 110? Okay, epoch. So it's epoch. We then go back down to the question. Right. Go up a little bit higher, get it out of the zone. So refer to figure 1, as indicated by the black lines. Use it to explain why. So it would be because your body is undergoing epoch. What would you do? Explain what epoch is. Right. Emphasise key processes involved. What are the key processes involved in epoch?
Excessive oxygen.
They are the 2 key processes. Now, what is alactic acid all about? Okay, replenishing ATP. Right. What is lactic acid all about? Okay, so they would be the 2 key processes, alactic acid and lactic acid, and then you would unpack them. So if I'm looking at this, refer to figure 4, figure 1 at the halftime break. Explain why it takes time for heart rate to reduce. So I would actually use some heart rate numbers. From 421, where the heart rate is 180, to down to 430, heart rate drops to 110. I've now referred to it. The reason it takes this time, however long it takes, 2 minutes, is because your body is undertaking excessive post-oxygen consumption, exercise oxygen consumption, EPOC. The key processes involved. Talk about them. Have I answered the question? Why do you say no? This is a big thing that has appeared on the last few years' worth of exams. Relate to performance. So how are these processes going to help us perform in the second half? Well, what's the benefit of the A-lactic acid? Yeah, replenish the ATP. What's the benefit in the second half? I can use them to sprint. What's the benefit of removing lactic acid? Okay. I'll be able to work at a higher intensity for longer. So I need to make sure I explain what they are and how it's going to help with performance. Hey, why is sprinting in the game of touch important? You have got a whole page worth of evidence there. Is there anywhere on that page where someone sprints? Where? Find me a piece of evidence on that page that says someone's sprinting.
Top speed.
Where?
In second half attack, second half defense, first half defense.
Yep. What's my top speed?
26.3, 26.9.
Day one average top speed 27.7.
Okay. 27.7 kilometres per hour. Hey, there's some evidence. So we could say, hey, what are the key processes? A-lactic acid, replenishing ATP stores. This will benefit the player in the second half as they'll be able to sprint, which is an important component in touch, as evident by an average top speed of 25 kilometres per hour or more from table whatever. I mean, there's your evidence all laid out for you. Right? I'm doing pretty well to write this thing for you.
You've done pretty well that whole time to step over that.
Okay, now, have I answered the question?
Yes.
Done. Last one. Question 4. There are a number of fitness factors required for successful performance in games of touch football. That's told me nothing about the question so far. Using the data from figures 3 and 4. Okay. Identify. Describe. What does identify and describe mean? Tell me what it is and give a definition. What could I do with that definition? What could I do with that definition? Thank you. I could reference it. Identify and describe 2 fitness factors utilised in the game of touch and explain a standard test that could be used to measure. So in other words, I'm going to pick 2 fitness components. Don't know them? There's all 9 of them up on the wall. All right? I'm going to pick 2 of them. I'm going to put a definition for them. Hey, the definitions are right there. I'm going to reference them. Go and find a reference. Don't say poster in driver's room. No. The only thing worse than that is Wikipedia. Okay? Identify and describe. So I'm going to pick 2. I'm going to give a definition. I'm going to reference it. Utilising aim touch. Am I done? What else do I need to do? Okay, I'm going to explain a standard test. Now, if you do agility, what's the standard fitness test for agility? Do that. What's the one we normally get you to do in your ATE? the Illinois agility run, where you lie on your stomach. Someone says go, you run up, you run around a cone. You then sprint down to the bottom cone. You go around the cone, around the cone, around the cone, back around the cone, around the cone, around the cone, around the cone, up to the top cone, down and finish. I know what I'm talking about and I don't understand that. So how can you explain that test in an easy fashion? Tells 1,000 words, Harry. So there is nothing wrong with you putting a diagram in, labelling that diagram, image 1, image A, image whatever. Students complete the course in the quickest time possible as demonstrated in diagram 1. Refer to it, no drama. Have I now answered the question?
Yes. No. Anyone more?
Okay, that's how I do too. Have I answered the question?
Yes. No.
What's the deep fitness factor?
Using the data from figures 3 and 4. You can see reading the question is very, very important. So here's figures 3 and 4. So what I'm trying to do is find some fitness components in there. Let's stick with agility. Can you find me a piece of evidence from that table that would support agility? What?
Players have to up to 164 directions.
Okay. Now, if I'm going to pull something out of there, I still need to refer to it as evident in table or figure 4. As evident in figure 4, or as stated in figure 4, players have recorded up to 164 directional changes in a game. This would be a great example of agility, which is the body's ability to remain balanced while changing directions. Reference, bang. A standardised fitness test would be the Illinois agility run, as evident in the diagram below, completing the course in the fastest possible time. I then go down and go, have I now answered that question? Fitness factors, okay. Have I used data?
Yes.
Have I identified it? Have I described it? In the game of touch, have I explained a standard fitness test? I do it twice, I'm done. Questions?
Do we have to refer to both figure 3 and 4?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Depending on how your words go, I would say. As I said, considering most of you are probably going to be struggling for a word limit, I'd probably just refer to the one. Make your point, move on. You don't have to make your point 3 times. So, are there any questions, team?